What's up and what's happening, TPE fam? We're back with another episode of the Period Experience, and I'm telling you guys, this episode will not disappoint. If you're looking for administrative excellence, if you're looking for a leadership that is moving towards the future with a high degree of excellence, you've come to the right episode. On this episode of the TPE, we're going to have none other than Minister Brooklyn Williams, who now serves as the executive director for John R. Adolph Ministries and is the chief administrative officer for Antioch Missionary Baptist Church. John R. Adolph is who she serves as the executive director for, is probably one of the greatest preaching voices and speaking voices that our country has, and she plays a pivotal role. Brooklyn plays a pivotal role in just the all things that are JRA, all things that are his ministry, and now she plays an administrative role at our church, which is a mainstay here in our city. I'm just excited to have someone who I know not only respect as a leader and as an administrative giant, but also someone who I think my family can call friend. Definitely somebody who has always supported the vision that me and my wife has had from an entrepreneurial standpoint. Someone who we've had had a chance to work together with in multiple capacities. This is somebody who I am extremely just blessed to be able to have a part of the TPE. I know her time is very valuable, and I definitely did not want to make ill use of her time. So I hope you guys can get something from this interview. I hope you guys something is said for you guys to help you pivot into your next and help you pivot into the next phase and next season of your life, because I definitely know that the things that we discussed during this time, what is very valuable, will have a lot of great things that can help you get to that next point in your life. So let's kick back and enjoy today's interview with Minister Brooklyn Williams. Take this, my love, What's up and what's happening, TPE fam? We're back with another episode, and today we have a very special guest. This is someone who I've known for a bit of at least 10 years now, and she is someone who I respect, someone who I think does a great job, is a great leader in what she does, and I think she has a great perspective on leadership and business. She has a high level of exposure to some very important things, and I think some things that she can kind of share with us to help the rest of us reach our next. And I'm sure she's packed with nuggets and just a general wisdom. And so I'm talking about none other than the Brooklyn Williams. Brooklyn Williams, thank you so much for joining the TPE. We strive to just help people get to their next level in life. We promote progress over perfection. And I know you have been around this recording before when we had Dr. Adolph on the show. Thank you so much for coordinating that expeditiously. Y'all, anytime I ask Brooklyn for something, for the most part, it's handled like it's wild. She's very efficient. And I think I try to do my best to reciprocate that. If you ask me for something, I try to do my best.
And that's exactly why.
We try to do our best to help each other out as best as we can, best we can. But man, no, it has been a true delight knowing you, getting to know you, getting to just watch your story unfold in so many ways. I think so I'll just toss the ball to you. Just kind of tell the people, who are you, what do you do, and how can you help us pivot?
Okay, well, I'll first jump in and start by saying, Alex, thank you so much for having me. I do not take this lightly to be a part of your schedule. Alex did mention that when he asks for something, I do it rather quickly, and that is because it's Alex Seal. Who wouldn't? I'm just happy to know that I'm able to be a part of the team. So I am here today. And just a little bit about me, I serve as the Chief of Administration at the Antioch Missionary Baptist Church in Beaumont, Texas, for those of you who may not know. And I also serve as the Executive Director to none other than the John R. Adolph for John R. Adolph Ministries. And so those are the two main things that take up majority of my time. However, we all know that No one has just one real job, right? No one has just two real jobs. So
Yeah, that's real.
I'll start there, and perhaps maybe as the call goes on, as the call goes on, we'll dig in deeper down those other routes and different things that I have going on.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. So I guess the first thing that I would like to know, and this may be more personal. People might know the answer to this question, but this is just maybe for me. I remember back in the day at church, we had the announcements, and there was a young lady by the name of, I think her name was Erica English. She did the announcements, and then I think she was moving away, and they opened up the position for a young lady to come do the announcements. I don't know if we knew who you were before then, or I don't really remember. But I remember you started doing the announcements, and then fast forward a bunch. Now you kind of run the show. So like, how did that transpire exactly? How did you feel like you got into that position?
Alex, that alone is a blur. And honestly, I've never, once I started, I've never looked back, because you really have to ask yourself, how in the world did that happen? Ironically, at the time, which is where you and I really became really close, it was from God's chosen, the Bible study. And so remember, we had kicked that up, and we were preparing for our first ever Bible study meeting with God's chosen. And it was on the lineup for me to be on Ambassador Television to talk about Bible study. And you know me, I like to be behind the scenes. Please don't put me on a camera if you can help it. But it was something new, something for the young adults. So they asked, would you mind putting it on Ambassador TV? Just so happened, I get on there to talk about Ambassador, to talk about God's chosen. I'm pretty sure I did a horrible job, by the way. Please do not go and look up that archive footage. But just so happened I do it, and Erica English is in the process and transition of moving out. Nobody knows this, or at least I don't, because at the time I'm honestly just a normal person. I don't know, stepping out on faith, trying to start up a Bible study, right? And so I do the Bible study. I do the announcement. Literally, maybe 1 week or 2 weeks later, I get a phone call saying that Erica English is moving, and they would like to consider me as being the new news anchor. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm trying to learn how to be, this new person to start a Bible study. What do you mean, a news anchor? Yet alone, it just never in my mind crossed. Um, Never thought for one moment that that's what I would be offered. The opportunity would be offered to me. I did not necessarily say when I grow up that's what I want to be, but it was literally by divine design within a 2 week transition. And at that time, since I'm sitting here pumped up and saying, you know what, God, I'm about to, do this and be all for you and start this Bible study, why not say yes and do the news anchor for the church? I had no idea what I was saying yes to. I just didn't, sometimes you're afraid to say no. Um, and I had no idea what I was saying yes to. And it unfolded to this, all from starting a Bible study and just trying to let the people know, meet us for God's chosen. And so that's really how I became the news anchor for Antioch Missionary Baptist Church.
Okay, so now let's transition into your current role. How did that come about? So you started out. I remember you were leading God's chosen, and then you were doing Ambassador TV, and then it just snowballed into what you currently are. Can you speak to just what are some of the milestones, some of the plateaus that happened from point A to point B?
Um, Snowball is correct. And I will say this time and time again that I never saw it coming. There are moments where I step back and look, and I'm just like, Brooklyn, what is actually going on? And sometimes I look to my left and to my right, like, okay, what could possibly be next? Because again, I never really know. But what led me to hear a couple of milestones, I would say that life happened, Alex. Life. I had just graduated from Lamar University, corporate communications degree. I was working at Khan's corporate office for about 6 years. And so in my mind, I felt like I had it all together. I had it all planned out. You're working at this corporate office, you have a degree, job is fine with you. You're doing great things as a recruiter there. And life just happened. I found myself unhappy. I didn't want to be there anymore. Um, I just knew that there had to be a little bit more to life than that. But because I never looked beyond tomorrow, I really didn't know how to accept anything different. And honestly, I just decided to quit one day. I was just like, you know what? This is it. Didn't do anything. Nobody did anything wrong, but it was just not there for me anymore. And so I did what many people do. I start subbing because you have to find a stream of income at some point, right? And so I had always been qualified to be a substitute teacher. I'm a product of BISD, to which I love. And so I always knew in some way, shape, or form, you must stay connected to the district. And so I was qualified to be a sub. And on days when I felt like it, I would go and sub. And even that I kind of, it's a little bit different. You have to be that is of a special breed if you're going to get into that classroom, especially if you just don't have it all together from start to finish, right? And so I start subbing as I try to, figure life out. And then comes Pastor Adolph, right? And what many people may not know is that I knew of Pastor Adolph before ever going to Antioch Church or before just being Brooklyn Williams at Antioch Church, right? I already knew him because my grandfather was a pastor. And so I would say little things to Pastor Adolph like, hey, don't forget you're traveling this week and you're going to be at this, and this. That was just common for me. That was just common to say, hey, look, next week you're going to be doing this. Don't forget. Just talking, just random conversation about a schedule because I am very systematic. If it is not on a schedule for me, it does not happen. And so typically my conversations are about scheduling. Always just it just ends up being like that. What's on the schedule? Just so happen you're the news anchor. What's on the schedule? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it
And
makes sense.
so that's how Pastor ends up saying, Brooklyn, how would you like to work at I kid you not, you can quote me. I looked at him, I said, I will never work at a church. Like, no, because you think that at the time you have to have it all together. You have to have life all ironed out. You have to present yourself faultless, right? No, no, no. That that means Brooklyn Williams does not qualify. And that was my response. Oh no, I'll never work for a church. And I continue subbing, and when I say continue, I mean like for a couple of more days, weeks. It did not it didn't last as long as one would think. And he asked the question again. He said, Brooklyn, look, I know that you're subbing, but you're really good at logistics. You're almost like a logistician. That's the word that he used. I'll never forget it. I had never heard of it before. And I'm like, did he make that up? We all know Pastor Adolph is a walking dictionary. He can just a walking thesaurus in all. So I'm thinking, okay, whatever that means. Never thought anything about it. He said, well, just consider it. I would have you to do what you're already doing, which is pretty much keeping up with my schedule. You don't even recognize it, but it's what you do. You talk to me about it all the time. And so just give it some thought. And I bowed out of subbing gracefully and walked in blinded, not knowing all that ministry would entail, not knowing all that I would be exposed to and what the job really would lead to. I went in under A and B, and now you have to ask yourself, not what is it that you do, what is it that you don't do? And I say that very humbly, but ministry is a broad umbrella. It covers everything from A to Z. And so that's how I ended up, honestly, being the executive director of John R. Adolph Ministries only. At that time, I was not employed for Antioch Church, strictly just Pastor Adolph.
Okay, so let's talk about that transition where you're now doing both. So you're the executive director for JRA Ministries, and so we've got essentially what that means. But what is your role at the church, and what's the difference between those two?
Okay. Great question. And it is a very thin line. One way that I use it to explain is that Pastor John Adolph is different from John R. Adolph Ministries. Pastor Adolph is who you would see on a Sunday morning. Pastor Adolph is who you see on Saturdays for funerals. Pastor Adolph is who you see at 3920 West Cardinal Drive. John R. Adolph Ministries is everything side of that. And so the traveling, him writing books, him doing conferences, anything that pertained to outside of the church itself is the ministry of pastor. So because I took on a liking for the ministry and, black and white, systematic, and, pastor, he's a go-getter. He's going all over the place. He's this, and this. He found it necessary to say, well, Brooklyn, could you consider doing something like this at the church? And the truth of the matter is, because it's such a thin line, Alex, it was almost a given, because you cannot make sure that all I's are dotted and T's are crossed for John R. Adolph Ministries and not come across Pastor John Adolph, right? So I found myself doing things at the church too, because hold up, if this isn't correct at the church, it's affecting the ministry for which I work for. Does that make sense? So I started doing little things at 3920 only to ensure that the ministry was working well for me. That my job was smooth and my job was copacetic. So it was a very in line, but it allowed that balance. And so that's how I began getting into the lane of working at the church as well.
And I guess that's interesting to be able to be blessed to have that level of autonomy. Like that's not common to be able to, you understand that the individual that you work for has two separate entities that he's essentially at the front of, and so you understand that if one ain't doing right, the other one is suffering, and to be able to impact that is, I think, is pretty cool. It's a perk, I would say. I
Yeah.
would think. And so okay, so that's awesome. Now, okay, so we've gotten through what you do for JRA Ministries. We've gotten through what you do for the church. Now let's talk about Brooklyn. Let's talk about who is she? What, beyond the two titles that you hold, which I think take up a lot of your time. Who are you?
Alex, that's a great question. And I don't know if we're doing the more professional route or if we're just doing the route where clock out. Like you said, there are days when we're working, 32 hours, and it's because you working for Antioch, and then you have to clock out and then work, clock out and work for the John R. Adolph Ministries. And so you really have to ask yourself, Brooklyn, when you're off, what is it that you're doing? And honestly, Alex, what I'm doing is probably eating pizza, watching Netflix, just happy to be normal. When I say I live for moments like that, um, if I'm traveling and things like that, Alex, I don't want to go sightseeing anything. I don't want to meet anybody. What is the reason why I am there? Let me do what I'm supposed to do. But if I have room service, Netflix, and just nothing, that's where I want to be, because it draws me back to my center. And then it allows me to, kind of reflect, refuel, reset, and allow myself to become anew so that I can be the best that I can be for both of those jobs. And that's not to say that I don't have a professional lane and a professional walk for Brooklyn, because I certainly do. But after coming down off of that, sometimes I really just want to have fun. Sometimes I really do just want to play basketball or go riding a bike or even just throw a football. It's the weirdest things, but I just want to have fun at some points, because everything else is just like, you have to be serious, you have to be strict, to which I am very serious and I am very strict. But relax. That's me. And some people wouldn't even think that, but I actually like to I do like to have fun. It's just not scheduled fun. I don't want to have fun and, oh, let's go to this amusement park, or let's schedule a vacation. I don't have to do that. Please, if you it's more work for me to go on a vacation than it is for me to say nobody is bothering me. Is it really just me? So that's along the more relaxed lane. But as far as Brooklyn, down a more serious walk, who is Brooklyn? I'm just like any other young adult. just figuring things out as I go, learning who I am as I go, learning what I like and learning what I don't like, setting vision boards and knocking out goals as best as I can, literally trying to stay above water. That's Brooklyn. That really is me. I'll sit here and say, man, I need a vision board. I need to bring this thing in. I need to figure out what is it that I want to do, which lane do I want to do it in. But um I'm Brooklyn is very black and white. That's who Brooklyn is, and that's what Brooklyn is doing. Just trying to weed out anything that doesn't belong, anything that could knock me off track, because as you said, it's a snowball, and I never know what's coming, how it's coming, and who it's coming from. So I'm spending every moment that I can focusing on Brooklyn so that Brooklyn can be the best at whatever is presented to her. I'll put it that way. That's what I do. So
Man, that was very well put, and I think a lot of times people forget that we have lives ourselves, and we're people too. And it's good to hear that you enjoy just having Netflix and room service. Sometimes you get to an age where some of this stuff isn't as exciting as it used to be when you were in your 20s or your mid to early 20s. It's almost a drain. Like I used to have fun doing that, but my bed is just as fun and comfortable, and I
what?
enjoy that. So no, uh, kudos to you for making that a priority when you can. You're so busy. I know your schedule is hectic, but you make the time. When you see it, you capitalize on it. So that's awesome. So what does
Yes,
your
yes.
next look like?
Alex, I would say this. I would say this. I recently did an interview with Michelle Obama, and she talked to me and said, "You have to get used to, and it is okay to say no." Beforehand, I say no, but I felt bad for saying no. But I had to get to a point where where I could believe that it really is okay to say no. And she said, "Watch how people will move forward after your no. They will be okay." And so that put me in a position to make time for myself. She literally said, "Figure out what it is that you want to do, five goals, however you want to look at it. And if those things that are asked of you don't have anything to do with those five, I'm so sorry I'm unavailable. I'm so sorry I'm not able to do it." And that's what kind of helped me to say, "No, I'm so sorry I'm not going to be able to make it." And it's not because I'm doing something. I'm just not going to be able to make it. And it doesn't always require a backup as to why. I just can't do it. And so that's where I am. And I've got to be honest, Alex, I'm okay with that. I'm loving this. I'm loving this space.
Well, I guess that I 100% agree to you because I feel like you think you can do everything. You got all the time in the world, you have all the energy in the world, and then you start getting emotionally invested into these things, and it starts to wear you down more than just the physical. You have the mental engagement into all these things, and it's draining. And I applaud you for being able. It used to be tough for me to say no. I look back over my life, and there's some things that I probably should have said no to that may or may not didn't align with what I was wanting to do. But I think at the same time, though, if we didn't say yes, I don't think we would know how far we can go if we didn't. So I think there's some value to one having a season of you say yes, but then having the maturity as you get older to know when you need to discern about certain situations and when you need to kind of put up that lens and that filter based on what your priorities are. Because I tell you, like once our family started growing, we started having more children. Like the yes time started to just dry up. Like it dried up very quickly, and we're focused on
Yeah.
their next, our next. Just trying to continue to push and plow forward. But what is one thing that you think you want to accomplish before this decade is over? So we're in 2023, 7 more years. What is one big thing that Brooklyn wants to see get done?
Let's see. Within the decade, Alex, sometimes I typically tend to look at my life in categories because there are so many different things. And so I would say things like, in the next 10 years, Brooklyn wants to have written a book. I believe that it would happen, sooner than 10 years, but certainly, Brooklyn, go ahead and write the book. In 10 years, I am totally invested to my students at Lamar University, the Relentless LU crew. I don't know what I want to see, but I want to see myself with them doing something in some major way in 10 years. I don't want to walk away from that because I do know that that's where I started. That young adult group, the name may have changed, but the assignment has been the same ever since. And so in 10 years, there has to be something dominating either on that campus of Lamar University or my impact on young adults at different schools regardless. I'm not letting up, Alex, until something gives with that young adult ministry in that portal. But being in 10 years chief administration of Antioch, it will be a smooth oiled machine. It will be. I'm not letting go of that. I tell people all the time, it's like a Rubik's cube, and I have never solved a Rubik's cube before, but that one I will, in 10 years. And granted, my prayer, of course, and we're always praying that it happens sooner than 10 years, but in 10 years, those are things that I would like to be able to say it's an autopilot, and it gives me room and regency to do my next freely. You know, I don't want to go into a next phase of life, a bigger next phase of life, still trying to figure out what are the students eating on Thursday. No, 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 no. But I will be making sure that they are fed, right? Um, Worrying about the different things at the church, this minor things like scheduling. Oh, no, 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 no. But we will be operating 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. Those are the things that I want to look at. And if you notice again, it's just categories, over here and then over there, over here and then over there. So those are, if I could just throw something out like that, that's where I go. But I will say this: I set goals um, that are in smaller terms, so that I can maintain them and make sure that they are achievable and attainable. But in 10 years, I would say something to that extent.
No, that's incredible. I think the job that you're doing with the relentless ministry that you have is trajecting to be something. Is already something, and I guess to hear you're passionate
Yeah.
about it, that you're wanting it to be larger than what that is, and so I think you're already
Mhm.
definitely headed in that trajectory in terms of your impact there. And to have satellite locations for that to be that level of ministry would be pretty cool. Like you see some of these other entities, how they're satellite like that, but through the collegiate ranks, I think you're onto
Mhm.
something. And I hope I didn't
Right.
say too much.
Yeah.
I really don't know nothing. I'm just talking. Anyway, no, so to hear you, I don't. I just, I listen and I make conclusions. But no, I think that, you wearing those different hats very eloquently. You're doing it with that. It doesn't look like much friction, and I think this kind of spills over into my next question. It's like I've watched you. It takes, and I guess from my own personal experience, it takes a certain level of patience, a certain level of expectation, a certain level of grind and grit to be able to do these positions at this level. Like, regardless of what any external views might be on the position that you have, that I have, whatever, it's work, it's attention to detail, it's focus, it's a lot of different things. And so what would you say is your leadership style that is helping you keep those things as in order as they are? Like, you talk in terms of declaration. You're saying this will be done. Like, you're speaking it when you, most of the time when we're talking, you're talking in terms of it's done already. You know what I mean? And so
Mhm.
what would you speak to your leadership style is that drives that mentality?
Alex, I believe that it's the little things that make the big things work. And one thing about me is, and this is where Pastor and I are the complete opposites, but it's what makes the hand and the glove. I will question something until there are no more questions. So I'm the person that's going to come in and tell you every reason why it's not going to work. And if you can continue to tell me why it will, when there are no more questions, then it will work. But I know me. Again, I am black and white. There are no shades of gray. That will not work. And let me tell you why. This needs to connect to this needs to connect to this, and that has nothing to do with that over there. It's not going to work. So until you can make this connect to this connect to that, and this relate to that over there, then we might be on to something. And so I don't just do that for Pastor Adolph and for the church. I do that for myself and all things that I am connected to. And so I am a strong proponent on administration. I never even knew it. I just knew that I was strict and I didn't know why. Not mean, but I really don't. Some stuff just not up for discussion for me, Alex. And it's because when things are solid, locked, and loaded, there is no discussion because that's what it is. That's just what it is. And so that's my leadership style. I will question everything. You have a great idea. I'm about to tell you why it won't work. And then you have to prove to me that it will. Because this is connected to this. And you know what, Brooklyn, you're right. But I think I found out a way. Okay, figure out a way. Because I don't want to have a big idea and you start working and your big idea isn't even of thought 2 months down the line. What? You
Yeah.
know? If it's solid, you're going to go after it because it's a straight shot. Yes, there will be stumbling blocks. Yes, there will be a detour. But if the programmatics are set, just adjust. Just adjust. At the end of the day, we do know that the end goal is there. And so my leadership style can be different, but it is one that can help. I've watched it. I've watched it help me myself, pastor, the church, young adults that I choose to invest in. To be able to tell them, hey, look, if you're about to sit this close to me, it's about to be some things that's going to change. That's only if you choose to sit this close. You don't have to, but if you're going to, that's not how we're about to work. That's not how we're about to operate because I want you to be able to have a glimpse of it or a taste of it and to sit back and watch it. Sit back and watch it. And so that's really that's my leadership style. Strict, rather black and white, but it's because I don't really we'll fail forward. We will, but I don't really like a lot of room for error. So I am going to comb things out. That logistician that pastor used when I first started working for him. What are the logistics? From this time to this time, what? From this time to that time, what? And what happens if that doesn't happen? I'm looking for all possible routes. And so that's my leadership style. But I guarantee you, on the back end, when it's all said and done, I typically look at people and they're smiling. Brooklyn, like Pastor says, Brooklyn, you're like a pit bull on gunpowder, and that's just what he says. But at the end of the day, it is a hand in a glove, and at the end of the day, there are moments where we just look and we're just like, man, did that really just happen? Did God really just do that? But it takes those 24-hour days sometimes. It takes that, let's get a snack. We don't have time to eat out and have these long meals and appetizer and food and dessert and no what?
Yeah.
Alex, that's not what it looks like. That's not what it looks like because it's a grind continuously if we want the bigger picture to really be impactful and to be powerful. So that's my leadership style, and I can't believe it, but it's working. And there are things that I'll brush up on as I go, but pretty black and white.
No, I think that I can attest to that. I don't think I can't necessarily gather to say that we had many negative interactions, but I will have to say, and I guess, and I'll just be transparent with you for a moment. I guess it's weird to me sometimes when we used to have to work together, right? I do what I do
Yeah.
in my real life, right? Like in my real life, I got what I got going on, and so then I come work under you, and then it's like I know what I do in my real life, and then I'm 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 being stewarded. You know, it was it is so I would say I
I remember that.
appreciated that view. I appreciated being able to work with you in that capacity to be able to, okay, this is a little different, but it's cool. You know what I mean? It's cool, and I can say that I've been a
Yeah.
witness to the, no, we're not doing that. No, and you say it nicely. Well, not at this time. It just doesn't make sense exactly to me that why we would do that. And it's like, well, you just kind
No,
of
it's
shut that down pretty good. But yeah, no. So no, I definitely agree with that, and I think the success that you guys have had is a reflection of that. Just, hey, thank you so much. Not at this time, maybe
Mhm.
later. Hard no, whatever it is. I think you do a good job of vetting it. So kudos to you for that. Last and final thing, and then we'll get out of here. What is one bit of advice that you would give your younger self? Like now that you've experienced what you've experienced, and you are in the position that you're in, what would you tell yourself? You just graduated, getting ready to go to cons corporate. What would you tell yourself differently, or advice that you would give yourself?
Take time to really think about and analyze your future. Like I said in the beginning, I never thought beyond tomorrow. I never thought about that. I always felt like, yeah, okay, everything is fine. There's no real need, there's no real want. But take time to really just think about what you would want to do, what you would want to be. Brooklyn, if you would want to be a princess, well, say that you would want to be a princess, and nothing is wrong. Nothing that you could possibly conjure up would be wrong or incorrect. I would tell my younger self that, because I never did it. I never took out the time to think beyond what was happening, to even consider a future for myself. That's not to say that I didn't believe that I had a future. No, it's just that I couldn't visualize myself in it and what I would be doing. Like I told you before, I told Pastor I would never work at a church. And now look at me. I work at a church full time, overtime, a graveyard shift. But that's what I said, because I just did not know. I had no idea. And it's also okay to be you. At the time, my younger self, I wasn't sure if my younger self was the me that I was supposed to be in order to do what I could possibly want to do. So I spent more time trying to change who I was, or change how I was, to create something that really wasn't there, Alex. It's who I was and who I am now. That's what got me to doing this. So spend less time trying to change you and more time trying to see you there. See that you there. Does that make sense? Um, do the vision board. Some people may not do it, but I just started doing a vision board maybe 5 years ago for the very first time, because I felt like I had no vision. Not that I did not have a future, but I just had no vision. I literally couldn't see. And that was the worst thing for me, because you get caught up in so many people living their best life and saying, man, and when I grow up, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And I never ever uttered the words, when I grow up, this is what I want to become. I've never uttered those words. And that's damaging to a child, to not be able to say, when I grow up, this is what I want to be. Never again considering or assuming that I would never grow up. No, I knew that I would grow up. I'm going to be a grown woman. I am. But when I grow up, I'm going to be this. I just did not know how to do that. And so if I could tell younger Brooklyn this, talk to her, I would tell her, hold up, consider what you might want to do, even if it doesn't make sense. Just say it. Just say it. Speak those things that be not as though they already were. Just say it. And then eventually you'll start walking down the path of the things that you are speaking. So now, Alex, there's things that I look at when I check my email. This is just the inside nugget, an inside caveat. When I check my email, I always say opportunity, 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 because you never know what's in an email. Aside from everybody pulling you, can you do this? Will you do this? Do you have time to do this? Blah. Somewhere in that could very well lie an opportunity. It sounds silly, but when you check your email and your phone every day and everybody wants something, okay, I know that's what y'all want, but let me see what I want out of this. Is there a chance for me to do better? Is there a chance for this to happen? Opportunity, opportunity. And some days, yes. Some days I look and I'm just like, oh my God, Pastor, I received an email to do this. And then there are other days I'm just like, oh, okay, I got these requests. I need to go ahead and adhere to these emails that's in my pending box, But it's just the smallest things that's what I'm doing right now. It may sound silly to some, but when I tell you it's getting me from point A to point B and it's giving me a reason, it's my why. It really is my why to wake up tomorrow and say, what opportunity will there be today? What positive thing will happen today? And sometimes you have to search high and low for it, but it is there. Something good is there. So that's what I would leave with saying to my younger self. Take the time to really pay attention to it.
Man, that's very well put. Because I think a lot of times we beat ourselves up for, even if you said that statement to yourself, when you grow up you want to be this. I think some of the other side of the trauma is, even if you do that, you still kind of beat yourself up for not being what you might have thought you wanted to be. So I
Right.
mean, I see both sides of it, but I definitely can appreciate your honesty here, your transparency. I this has been, I think there's, you've said a lot of things that can definitely help someone see through to the next, to their next, get to the other end of the road, and to the next journey. Because I think just hearing your story from graduating, going to cons, taking on Ambassador TV, to now transitioning into running both of these entities. And I know we hadn't talked about everything. I for fact, I know we haven't talked about everything, and so I encourage you to go ahead and write the book. Let's not let any more time pass. I think in 10 years you probably at least have two of them under your belt. That's plenty of time. I think once you get the
All
first one
right
out of
now.
the way, the second one will be kind of easy. And so I definitely think you're onto something. I watch what you do every day with John R. Adolph Ministries, and you can definitely tell that our church is with the future, and I think you have a lot to do with that. I think you play a role.
Thank you.
I've always thought that Pastor Adolph has been cutting edge, even though he is getting older now, but he still stays fresh. He still stays current. And I think you kind of help definitely guide and mold that. So, man, kudos to you and what you're doing. Want to give you your flowers while you can still, smell them. And I think that
Thank
you're
you.
doing an incredible job in what you're doing, what you've told us, and then you're doing a great job for the things that you have not told us as well. So, man, I really
Thank you.
appreciate you guys out there. I hope you guys had a chance to hear something. You guys got the chance to hear Brooklyn's heart and her mindset around leadership, and her mindset around just operating in a capacity that is very high level. Handling the importance of administration and logistics. I think that there's a lot of people out there with a lot of great ideas, but if you don't have that administration, if you don't have the logistics, then it could all fall by the wayside. You can start out fast, but can you sustain what you're doing? And everything that Brooklyn is talking about is that sustainability. I think she is the
Yeah.
foundation to what is sustaining a lot of the things in terms of, man, you guys are on the plane. There might be some weeks where you guys might be on the plane 3 or 4 times out of the week, keeping up with the landing times, and I think it
Yeah.
could be, and that might sound elementary, but there's a lot that goes into when just making sure you get
Yeah.
from point A to point B to point D and F and all the way around the board. So, man, kudos to you. I really hope somebody got something out of there, out of this show today. And until next time, TPE family,
What's going on,
peace.
everyone? I am Brooklyn Williams, and I'm really just here to remind you to make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to this channel so that you can continue to pivot into your next.
Is